Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Trust you've had a good weekend. It certainly remains chilly here in Nairobi. And it reminds me of many years ago when this was the weather we used to experience. And interestingly, it seems that it's quite a cold snap across the continent at the moment. Home thoughts. Hey Twitter, who took this photo? Please tell me this is this iconic photograph of Emmanuel Macron celebrating a goal, I think, at the World Cup final. And that took me back to a piece I wrote at the end of last year. Emmanuel Macron gives France back its mojo. And the French football team have done the same as well. And this young man, Mbappe, he's fantastic, isn't he? It reminds you of Jonah Lomu, Boris Becker, Serena Williams. You know, they arrive on the scene and they're so much better than what has gone before them. Sun came out to play Sarova White Sands for a few minutes, then went back into hiding. This is a photograph from Peter's size 10, a rather good one. First set, Djokovic. He's making it look easy out there on centre court. Famous victory. Congratulations to him. In my article that I wrote over the weekend, it was about what's happening at Kenya Power, and I made a reference to a book called What the Face Reveals, Basic and Applied Studies of Spontaneous Expression Using the Facial Action Coding System, Paul Ekman and Erika L. Rosenberg. Political reflections. Breaking. EU Chief Donald Tusk urges the US, Russia and China not to start trade wars and destroy world order that has brought peace. In this photograph, POTUS is sitting in Winston Churchill's chair as a guest of Prime Minister May at Chequers. DG Sirius tweeted smart move by Mueller to launch the coup. When Trump is in London, he knows the play. Ricky Gervais, Trump may have divided America, but he's certainly united Britain. Theresa May met with Trump at Chequers to discuss a range of foreign policy issues. And also they met UK and US military personnel at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. Trump said some crazy things during this visit. The United Kingdom, he said, was in somewhat turmoil. Germany was now totally controlled by Russia. He said, I would have done it much differently. Sounding like a tourist who has given his phrasebook a passing glance, but no more. Actually told Theresa May how to do it, but she didn't agree. Apparently, Trump told Theresa May to sue the EU, not go into negotiations, sue them. It seems quite an extraordinary bit of advice. The Independent, they're at it again. It's a firmer Brexit or Jeremy Corbyn, and if Theresa May sticks to the Chequers deal, history will repeat itself. This is the conundrum that Theresa May has put in front of the Brexiteers. So we have a new situation, a US president who doesn't think the order the US has built post-1945 and post-1989 is in the US interest. This brings massive uncertainty. Will the liberal order fall apart with a bump? Will it slowly decline or survive with scars? Charles Glass, who's a commentator on the Middle East, tweeted this photograph, the psychos. David Weasel, if it looks like a witch, smells like a witch, and captures children and puts them in cages. Ali H. Soufan, if you wonder why Russia interfered in the 2016 election, the reality today is that the President of the United States considers NATO as obsolete, Putin as fine, and the EU as a foe. The old Etonian Brexiteers are the First World War generals who thought their men could pierce impregnable defences if only they threw themselves at them with enough elan. And finally, I was honoured to meet my brother, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and to discuss economic matters and the private sector's future and role in the success of Vision 2030 Al-Walid. Brought to heel. I shall be one of the biggest supporters of the vision through Kingdom and all its affiliates, he said. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar lost its perch above 117 back at 116.94. Japanese yen 112.45. Dollar index 94.64. Swiss franc 10013. The pound, about which I'm more constructive, 132.44, Australian dollar 0.7436, Indian rupee just below a record low 68.565, South Korean won 11.2835, Brazilian real 385.09, Egyptian pound 17.8775, South African rand 13.2604. The rand has rallied a little bit. Dollar index, this is a 3-month chart. I still think we're in a rotation pattern for now. Sterling, this is a chart from Holger, 132.45 last. I'm increasingly bullish about it, actually. Euro dollar was at 117.03 when I walked in. We're at 116.96, and I think also this can rebound a little bit. You know what? Don't bother showing the video. We will make one of the mini sub-pod going all the way to K5, no problemo. Sorry, pedo guy, you really did ask for it. This is a response by Elon Musk. Harry Kunzru, at this rate, Elon Musk will destroy his brand in 12 months. Pedo classy. And this is the flame war between the Tesla CEO and Vernon Unsworth, a spelunker who helped rescuers find the Thai soccer team. Began after Unsworth made an appearance on CNN and criticized Elon Musk's idea to use a miniature submarine. Unsworth branded the billionaire's idea as little more than a PR stunt, and that he could stick his submarine where it hurts. The submarine had absolutely no chance of working. Elon Musk had no conception of what the cave passage was like. Musk defended his efforts by tearing into Unsworth in unusually harsh and personal tones on Twitter. He referred to the British national as a pedo guy, which drew widespread condemnation on social media, as you would expect. It is insane. I always look at it through the prism of investor relations. Imagine trying to control these kinds of comments. Commodity markets, this is the commodity price performance over the last 3 months. On G-Girl, sugar futures in New York have already slumped 25% in 2018. That's the biggest loss on the Bloomberg Commodity Index, which tracks returns for 22 components. Sugar stockpiles are poised for a record as slowing demand growth and surging production creates the worst performing commodity of 2018. Consumers have become increasingly wary of the health impact of their sweet tooth, and companies from canned fruit maker Del Monte Foods to snack food seller Mondelez are touting products made with less sugar. While global consumption is still rising, the pace of growth has slowed to an average 1.4% in recent seasons, down from 1.7% over the past decade, according to research at Greenpool Commodity Specialists. Gold lost at 1243.75, that key area of 1237, 1236, where we've held so far. But if we slice through that, then we're going straight down below 1200 in my view. Brent crude coming off a little bit, $75.23 last time I took a look. The OCCRP, who I follow on Twitter, has this article called The Klepto Hills. This is about the Emirates Hills, also known as the Beverly Hills in Dubai, and somehow they've got the data of all the owners. Makes interesting reading. 14th of May, I was predicting an emerging market crisis. I said this has all the ingredients for baking a good old-fashioned crisis. And Mark Moebius is saying the trade war is just a warm-up act for a financial crisis. The gap between JP Morgan Chase as gauge of expected volatility in developing nation currencies and a G7 measure was at its highest level since 2011 at the end of last week, signaling people are very nervous about price movements, downside price movements in emerging markets. Venezuela, black market Bolivar keeps falling. It's just fresh lows versus the dollar. I've written about this severally. Last year in May, I said Nicolas Maduro's Venezuela is at breaking point. Dollar Turkish lira flashed another buy signal for move to above 5.19, says Peter L. Brandt, buy dips. And I don't think he's wrong. Sub-Saharan Africa, interestingly, Vladimir Putin met with the president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir. As you can see from this photograph, he also met with the president of Gabon, Ali Bongo Ondimba. And he seems to have met plenty of people around that World Cup final. Words cannot express the joy we are feeling now. History is being made as we speak, Isaias said during a lunch hosted by the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. I take you back to the end of March when His Excellency Abiy Ahmed said, "It is time, let's build a wall of love between Ethiopia and Eritrea." Forgiveness frees the consciousness. When we say we have reconciled, we mean we have chosen a path of forgiveness and love. This is Abiy telling concert goers, and that was via Maggie Fig. 2nd of July, I wrote about him and I said he's been Prime Minister for 90 days. During those 90 days, he has crisscrossed the country, ended a state of emergency, released thousands of political prisoners, thawed relations with Eritrea, banked $1 billion from the UAE, announced a dramatic economic about turn. In matters of language and linguistics, he has tapped into a Nelson Mandela 1994 mood. I said these 90 or so days represent the most consequential arrival of an African politician on the African stage since Mandela walked out of prison, blinking in the sunlight, and constructed his rainbow nation. I ain't saying this is Isaias's plane, but it's hard to imagine him flying commercial, as last month's delegation did. And then this was indeed the plane Isaias arrived in. A Royal Jet is a charter company based in Abu Dhabi. And then Lauren in DC, a sign of the times in the Horn. Eritrea's Isaiah Afwerki visits Ethiopia for the first time in 2 decades via an Emirati charter. Bemba has been nominated as a presidential candidate by his party. Now Kabila has a heavyweight political rival. This is 5 weeks after his conviction for war crimes was overturned at the ICC. Movement for the Liberation of Congo, known as the MLC, named Bemba, who was the country's vice president from 2003 to 2006, on Friday at the end of a 2-day congress. According to a statement issued by the party, presidential and legislative elections are due to take place on December 23rd. 55-year-olds return to the political fray, presents Kabila and his ruling coalition with a major rival who they had expected to still be behind bars in The Hague. Bemba was defeated in the 2006 presidential election by Kabila. He fled the country in 2007 before being arrested in Belgium the following year. Sitting president is constitutionally barred from seeking a third term, but Kabila's refusal to say who will be the candidate for his ruling coalition is spurring speculation he'll try to change or reinterpret the constitution to run again or delay the vote. South African all shares down 5.28% year to date. Dollar rand, the rand has rebounded over the last few sessions, lost at 13.2604. Egyptian pound has been pretty steady in quite a volatile environment, 17.8775. Nigerian all share down 2.22% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange up 11.2% year to date. Djibouti would be prepared to pay DP World compensation of more or less $500 million as early as next week to settle a dispute over the control of the city's Doralé container terminal. This is according to David Pilling in the Financial Times. And I was left wondering, I wonder who exactly is underwriting that $500 million. Quite a story. That's on Rich Wrap-Ups if you're interested. The IMF were conducting their normal review and concluded with this statement: the authorities need more time to consider the publication of the staff report and the related press release. My article over the weekend was Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Kenya Power has sunk 28.02% year to date, second only to ARM, which is minus 65.76%. Jesse Livermore, aka Edwin Lefebvre, said markets are never wrong, only opinions are. I came across Nordin Haji at the Swiss ambassador's residence last week on the occasion of the visit of the Swiss President Alain Berset to Kenya, whom I interviewed and see the link. I said to the DPP, look at that, I was thinking about you and voila, here you are. By the way, that's called serendipity, which is one of my favorite words and well worth looking up when you have a moment. Anyway, as I stood in front of the DPP, for some reason my mind flipped to Paul Ekman and his totemic book, What the Face Reveals. It's an extraordinary book which gives the reader a roadmap to read micro-expressions. Micro-expressions are split-second facial movements which are essentially not controllable. I nearly got divorced when I read Ekman because I kept saying to the missus, but darling, you don't mean that. I found myself looking a bit too intently at the DPP, thinking to myself, a fellow who operated deep undercover in the shadows, let's see if I can read his micro-expressions. That was early last week. Then at the end of the week, the office of the DPP, in a series of machine gun tweets, said this: I have directed the DCI to immediately cause the arrest of the following persons and have them arraigned in court to answer charges. Dr. Ben Chumo, former MD and CEO. When sought for comment, Chumo asked to be called back later. Dr. Ken Taurus, GM Finance, as he then was. Taurus's phone was off and he was not immediately available for comment. Beatrice Mizo, GM Corporate Affairs and Company Secretary. Peter Mungai Kinuthia, and then a whole series of others. I am therefore satisfied there is a prosecutable case made out against each and every one of the following persons jointly or severally: conspiracy to commit an offence of economic crime, willful failure to comply with the law relating to the management of public funds. I have to give credit where credit is due, and it is due to the blogosphere, which had been relentless. KPLC, of course, drew everyone's attention because of the extraordinary Taleb-like fat-tailed volatility in our bills. Interestingly, KPLC had received outstanding multilateral support, particularly for its last-mile effort. You will need to ask the likes of the World Bank exactly what kind of due diligence they've been doing, because clearly it was very superficial. Kenya Power owns and operates most of the electricity transmission and distribution system in the country and sells electricity to over 6,675,534 million customers as at May 6, 2018. So what happens next? The ODDP's charge sheet is compelling. We will need a real quick forensic analysis to get our arms around the size of the hole. Someone serious has to be parachuted in real quick. More plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose is not going to cut it. In fact, the signal in the noise is that this model has run out of road. In fact, it's careered off the road. Look outside, you will see the debris everywhere from Mere Sugar to Uchumi to Nakumatt. Abraj's founder, Abraj was one of Africa's biggest buyout funds and of course owns Java here in Kenya and is facing its own denouement. Its founder, Arif Nakvi, famously said, today's peacock is tomorrow's feather duster. KPLC was a bit of a peacock because because of all the connections they'd done. They were a darling of all the multilateral agencies. Avoiding the fate of being a feather duster is going to require a significant mindset and personnel change. Let's see how the share price performs on Monday. The share price was down 28.02% year to date before today, but it's kind of trading around unchanged. Reuters reported that the police have arrested the ex-CEO of Kenya Power, as I said. If you're interested in following the ODPP_KE Twitter handle, that's on Rich Wrap-Ups. Armed Cement, of course, is the biggest faller this year, down 65% so far this year, but it's come back reasonably sharply off a multi-year low of 255. We're now at 445. We started the year at 13. Kenyan firms where Abraj has acquired a stake will be following keenly to see what comes out of the takeover deal. This is in Business Daily, talking about Java, talking about Brookside, talking about health investments as well. The super petrol price increased by 3 shillings and 39 cents, while diesel and kerosene decreased marginally. The Kenya shilling is at 100.46. It is the best performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa versus the dollar. Nairobi all shares is up 0.04% year to date. NSE 20 is down 10.18% year to date. And the final link is a link so you can check into any share price that you want to, any listed stock here at the Nairobi Securities Exchange.